Well, good afternoon, everybody. And once again, it is 4 o'clock. And so you know what time that is. It's time to tell me something good. I've got a friend, a colleague, one of the digital masters, and he's been doing it for a long, long time. My friend Jay Berkowitz, who is the CEO of 10 Golden Rules, is joining us today. He is just loaded up with knowledge. JB, it's your chance to tell us something good.
Well, thanks, Steve, and thanks for the intro, and I really appreciate it. And you could be my agent. Matter of fact, you are. So.
I love
you make
it.
you make so many great introductions that you are kind of like my sales agent, right?
I love it, man. It's great.
Yeah. So the first thing I wanted to say, something good, is we actually hired during this whole crazy time and recession and COVID, etc. And I hired 100% digitally, using a couple tools that I love to share. I like LinkedIn for hiring, because then I can see who people are connected to. And 9 times out of 10, I know someone who knows them, so I can get a personal recommendation. But what I did is I used this little link called Calendly. It's like calendar with an LY at the end, Calendly.
Can you imagine a worse name, though? I mean, like, I know people who use it. I can't pronounce the word.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
But
it works.
I find it incredibly memorable once you get it.
Right. It's
now
exactly
people
right.
say, "Oh, send me your Calendly link. I want to get that myself," because it works so well. So, and then people can just click on this link and see my calendar and set up a meeting, and then Calendly sends them a meeting invite, puts a meeting on my calendar, and you can integrate it with Zoom. So it actually created a Zoom for me and all the candidates I was interviewing. So I went through I set up a 15-minute Calendly. You can set up the time you want. And I did about 15-minute quick interviews with the priority candidates I liked. We got over 140 applications. So LinkedIn worked really well.
Nice.
I narrowed it down and sent people to Calendly's. A couple people never showed up, but you can't account for.
Isn't that unbelievable? Still in this day and age,
who knows?
When that used to happen to me in person,
yeah,
I was like so offended by it. I was like, really?
You apply for a job and I put you on my calendar, you don't show up. Anyway, so the Calendly worked great. We had these little mini meetings on Zoom, and then my team took over and interviewed the top 4 or 5 candidates I liked. We got down to 2. We love a tool called Predictive Index, if you know that one. And
sure.
We did our Predictive Index surveys with the amazing, famous Vic Coppola.
I was going to say, isn't that Vic? Yeah.
Yeah. Love Vic. And then we prioritized our candidates, had another Zoom meeting, made an offer, negotiated a little bit, sent the contract over by DocuSign, another digital tool. And Laura started, I guess, about a month, 5 weeks ago. I hadn't met her until like last week or the week before. She wanted to see if we had a real office, so we went.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that, because you did meet her. You just didn't meet her in the way that we were accustomed to. This way you can see I'm looking right in your den, or I'm getting a look at your house. I'm getting a better look than I would have ever done at an interview. So, I love what you're sharing today, because everybody is doom and gloom, job numbers. And if you listen to that bullshit, you get carried away with the trend. Here's a real-time story where, growth, and you made it work for you.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely something good. And, fortunately, someone left our company. She went to work at a not-for-profit, and this was like a long-term thing. We knew for about 6 months that she was pursuing that. And so it was really a critical position, and we hired it during all of this, and it worked out great. So we're very thrilled. And I'm thrilled to share Calendly. If nothing else, check it out and set up Calendly with Zoom. And I'm going to talk about that in a couple examples today if we get to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have tried that, but Shay is my Calendly, man. I chose to to do it the personal way, but it does get crazy, and it is nice. Yeah. And I will say, I'm seeing more people using that where we're suggesting something and they said, hey, just go to my Calendly. So great job.
Super easy. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Shay did that. You said, hey, connect with Shay and get on something good. And I sent him my Calendly, and he told me the time, and booked it in with using your software. So
it's awesome, man. Great stuff.
Yeah.
So that was one. I know you have 3, and I believe in the power of 3. So what are the 3 things that you want to? That's one.
Yeah.
Give me something else good, Jay.
The second something good is we've been doing a webinar series, and actually coming up this month on the 25th, you're going to be starring in one of our webinars.
Me?
Yeah.
Moi?
And it's called The Rainmaker's Playbook. So if you know the term Rainmaker, if you haven't watched the movie or read the Grisham book, go get it in advance because it's really entertaining.
Or the movie. Isn't there a movie, The Rainmaker?
Yeah, there's a movie. The movie's not as good. Read the
Right.
book. Or
I agree.
I did the audio. You've got till the 25th. But really the concept of a rainmaker is someone who can make it rain for their firm. In the movie, he was a lawyer, young lawyer, and he had to learn how to get his own clients and generate his own stream of business. So we're going to have Steve and a guy named Ken Hardison, who's owned his own couple law firms and sold them, and has an organization called POMA, which is the Professional Law Firm Association, and another buddy of mine named Alan Margulis, who's a sales rock star. So we're going to have 3 guys who really know how to make it rain. But what I wanted to talk about was these webinars, because they've been great for our business. They make it rain for our business. But really, it's not about the webinars. And what I remind everyone is this has worked really well because it's thought leadership marketing. It's me going out there and having permission to email my list. We email them a couple times before the webinar. Then we record the webinar and email them after the webinar. And also all of our social media. So last week when we launched the webinar, we had an email and a LinkedIn and a Facebook and a Twitter. And then I put the same content on my personal social media as well as the company social media. And it's saying that, hey, 10 Golden Rules is a company that specializes in marketing for professional services. We specialize in marketing for law firms, and we're associated with all of these thought leaders in marketing, and we're going to teach you something. So it gave us permission through what I call thought leadership marketing to say, hey, we're doing something great. We're going to teach you something great. Come on over to our webinar, and people sign up for the webinars. And then there's a little secret weapon that, if you'd like, I'll share with you and the audience.
Love it, man. Between you and me, nobody's listening.
Yeah. but you're not going to be surprised. The secret weapon is Calendly. And after people register for the webinar, we have this little trick, not a trick, but it's very upfront, but it's on the landing page. And it's like, hey, if you can't wait for the webinar to learn some internet marketing strategies or review what you're doing for your own website, click here and set up a 30-minute consultation with Jay Berkowitz.
Wow.
And right there is the Calendly link. And people actually, so they've registered for the webinar. The message is, if you can't wait for the webinar, click here to set up a meeting. They click on the little Calendly link and they book something into my calendar. And I get a note, hey, these guys registered for the webinar. And there's a question like, what are you looking into? So people say, I want to improve the SEO for my website, or I want to improve my marketing and my social media. I know what it is they want to improve. And I've got a tip that here's a sales lead that came through the webinar series. Fantastic, execution.
Love it. I love it, and from my perspective as a career rainmaker, as you call it, the idea of permission, something that when we were all kids, you grew up, you didn't get anything until you asked for permission. You get slapped on the wrist, ask nicely, and so somehow we forgot that basic core education as a kid. As an adult, you forget, and people just zoom right in, excuse the pun, but to try and sell you something when you're not interested. So there's 2 parts of what you're saying that are really fascinating to me. Asking for permission, I love, and then actually delivering value, which a lot of these webinars are complete garbage. They're basically caged or framed sales pitches. I know that's not your style. You are legitimately teaching people. In the one that I'm going to do with you, I'm giving real content about what it's like to make rain in the professional services space specifically, because that's the last bastion of people who thought they were responsible for sales. God forbid they call themselves a salesperson or talk about business development if you're a lawyer or an accountant. So I think you've hit on 2 very key points about marketing in the new millennium. So great job there. I mean, really
Thank
awesome.
you.
And you've had some great results already, right?
Yeah, we had 9 qualified leads from the last webinar, which makes for a great week, and fills my sales funnel with qualified leads who are telling us they want to learn about what we do,
which is fascinating, because I can't imagine someone not wanting to learn. I mean, you have tremendous experience. You and I go way back in social. You, I
Thank you.
think maybe before even me got into it, but are sort of like we knew each other but didn't really know each other
Yeah.
just through social. And
Well,
then, you know,
yeah. I mean, I always joke that I was doing internet marketing before Al Gore invented the internet. Remember, it was a joke that
great. I love
you know,
that. Right.
in a speech,
I invented the internet.
there's this new thing called the internet, and like, you know, the military had been on the internet for 20 years, and many of us were already working on the internet. But I was working at Sprint and getting people their first websites and just, you know, getting people their first emails back in 94, 95 in the early days. And I think we met when I came to Florida to work at ediets.com.
Oh, that's right. That's exactly right.
A .com that we built into a $60 million .com success
Was
story.
that Steve Ratner and that whole group?
Yeah, he was around.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It
Wow,
was Dave Humble was the inventor and founder, and he had over 100 patents. And so he was,
and how appropriate would that company be today? I mean, I
oh
know
yeah,
that incredible.
yeah. Unfortunately, it went through many lives after I left. But so that was 17, 18 years ago when I started 10 Golden Rules.
Wow, incredible. Very cool. So we have two, and they've been doozies so far. How do you follow up with a third?
Yeah, the last one is kind of like the blocking and tackling of what you and I do, and you're the master of it, which I call the one-on-one. I think the term comes out of BNI, Business Network International, that Ivan Meisner founded, and you know, basically the concept is that networking is not about going to an event like the remember in the old days we used to have cocktail parties and business networkers and handing
And
out
a business card?
yeah, but you know, really great networking is about building relationships and getting to know, like, and trust the people you potentially do business with. And I was always taught by some of the networking books and sessions that I attended that you don't go to a networker to hand out business cards. You go there to meet 2 or 3 people that you're going to have a coffee or a lunch with. So one of the great applications in our, you know, in the all digital world of today is setting up these Zoom one-on-one meetings and really doing that half an hour. I had one this morning with a guy who's a technologist and a pilot, and he's doing all these startups, and it's just so, you know, fascinating to learn people's stories. And you know, I immediately connected him to my buddy who's starting an airline, and hopefully this guy will get a job or a consulting gig out of it. But the opportunity to take that one-on-one that you would have had over lunch or a Starbucks into the Zoom environment is fantastic. Of course, I use the Calendly and just, you know, send someone, say, hey, you know, let's get together for a Zoom one-on-one. Everyone takes advantage of it. You know, whether it's a networking opportunity or sales opportunity, people still think it's cool to do a Zoom. It's still a little bit unique. And
you know, it's interesting that you say that, and I apologize for interrupting, but we've been teaching our clients and people we've been working with how to use the virtual environment for years. People looked at us like we had horns, like, well, nothing's going to replace face to face. And maybe that's true, but this is so efficient, so much. Like you used it, and you shared the angle through recruiting. I'm basically, the mindset is I'm recruiting new relationships every day. It's fabulous. I can do them every 15 minutes. We named them virtual coffees 2 years ago, and people would hear that and they go, "Can I steal it?" I go, "Steal what?" I mean, it's just words, man. Like, steal what? It's instead of going to Starbucks
and do it,
right? Instead of going to Starbucks and traveling there and sitting in a crowded environment, this is clearly much more efficient. So good for you for getting out in front of it.
I've actually been doing it for about 2 years on LinkedIn, because someone connects with you on LinkedIn and you make, they say, hey, would you like to connect? And they have something of value. It seems like they're not just, someone trying to sell you something. And I'll immediately reply with, hey, click my calendar. Let's set up a Zoom one-to-one, because, you're not going to meet physically if they're, in Seattle.
Correct.
So I've been doing it for a long time, but, it's really taken a whole new life with the importance of building new relationships.
For a guy like you who's been doing it and understands the power of digital and scale and all that kind of stuff, it's no surprise for most people, they're still struggling with, the nuances and the, how to do it and why to do it. And I think one of the biggest things that we found in our work is that people are struggling for a metric on how to measure the work. You're really good at, when you do the work for the marketing side of a law firm, you can show them the metrics on the spend, on the return, and people are really into that. They couldn't do that in LinkedIn until we created a whole dashboard that is very easily managed by senior. It's created by senior management and easily managed. And clearly, if you're developing new relationships at scale, your business is going to explode. I mean,
That's
it's
awesome.
really that simple,
So that's functioning like a sales CRM, and you're measuring how many meetings and how many relationships.
It's so great because almost every sales professional that I work with at whatever level, if they don't have a CRM, they desperately bitch about, we need a CRM, we need a CRM. And the ones who have a CRM bitch that they wish they didn't have a CRM, So I think LinkedIn is that place where it all comes together. It manages a lot of data if you know how to pull it. And, it's not a mass marketing tool, but it is a way to really manage your behavior. And I'm a behavior over outcomes guy anyway. So to your point, no geographical boundaries, no time boundaries. I mean, I have clients all over the world just because, like you, the internet is so powerful.
That's awesome. So, these are some of the strategies we'll talk about on the webinar. Have you rounded out any of your thoughts? Tell me something good.
Yeah, look at that. You
Being a
turned it
rainmaker.
around on me, man. It's really funny. Nobody in all of the shows that we've done has asked me to tell them something good. I have never seen a better time to build pipeline health. And I think that's where most businesses suffer, is in what's coming down, how do you forecast? And so I think, I'm a believer. My philosophy is more about opportunity creation than selling. And the environment is very rich for that. People have a capacity now to learn. They have the time to learn. So all of those things lend themselves to a digital environment where you can be efficient, you can do follow-up, you can do so many things that I was traveling the world speaking, and it was completely inefficient. I would tell some of my clients, hey, listen, I could do this virtually. Well, we don't, work from home? No way, so I think that trust level has turned. And if you're really good at developing relationships at scale, you'll have plenty of opportunity. And so I'm excited to share my stuff. I'm grateful for the opportunity from you, but people like you who are getting out in front of it. And, like I was talking to one of my clients this morning, and she said, hey, I want to become a thought leader. I said, listen, you either are or you are not. Social media is not a place to become a thought leader. You just got to share it. You got a place to share it. So,
by the way, if people
excuse me.
I just asked Steve what he was going to be sharing in the webinar, and he gave us a fantastic answer and gave us all kinds of stuff, but he clearly hasn't technically prepared for the webinar. So in case
yes, I have, but I'm not sharing it here. I'm not,
Okay.
So I'm very prepared.
I'm kidding.
I know.
Look, you when you are you're a rainmaker. But more specifically to that point, what are you actively building new outreach and new relationships, or your thought leadership, like your webinar and your morning huddles? Like, is it just bringing opportunities to you, and then you just have to set up the one-on-ones?
Jay, you're so smart. I mean, you and I could talk all day, and thank you for on my own show asking me stuff like this. But the reality is most sales efforts are outbound, whether you're spending money to create interest, or whether you're cold calling, emailing, or the traditional terms. I think the fascinating part of social selling is that if you create enough thought leadership out there, the funnel turns upside down and it comes back at you inbound. And the first time I got an inbound opportunity, I was like pinching myself going, all right, this is a joke. This is not real. But, again, and I'll talk about this further, I think it's an awareness game. If not enough people are aware of you, they have no shot of doing business with you. And so where you're responsible for marketing a company and that brand, I'm responsible for teaching people how to market themselves. And that's never been a part of the sales dialogue. It's never been a part of the personal services dialogue, because I went to school for 8 years to become an attorney. I'm an attorney, not a salesperson. Well, not anymore. You're really both, and you always have been both. And I leave people with this. When was the last time you bought anything from anybody you didn't like? And so you and I, if we didn't like each other, conversation's over. We're never going to collaborate. We're never going to do anything together. So it really comes down to finding matches, and good things happen, maybe not on your timeline, but in general, and so we have a tremendous referral base. We're just so blessed to be positioned in the sales world the way we are. We're having a blast doing it, but we're content, machines. We're putting a lot of stuff out there. And to your point, you'll probably talk about this from your standpoint. It's really creating a magnet that never existed before.
What's on your list? So you do a daily huddle.
So we do the 8 a.m. daily huddle.
Live. Do you do, one of the things I recommend to people, and if you're not doing this, I'll share it, and you can share it with your social media team, is when you create great content like that, you always want to cascade it. And that's one of the secret sauces that I share in my presentations. It's called cascading content. So like a river comes to a waterfall and then it cascades down and creates streams and tributaries and little pools. If you start with, like, you record your daily huddle every morning, does it also go on LinkedIn as a recording, on Facebook, on Twitter? Hey, click over here.
So fundamentally, people who want to see the huddle do not have to catch it live, although the interaction of the audience, it's probably become one of the better networking events because it's a global audience that tunes in and they're like firing back and forth at each other. And we have real-time examples of people who have connected and done business just because of being in the huddle. So it has lots of benefits. But to your point, we want people to access the information. We're not up, just yucking it up. We're providing real content. And there's a lot of people who call me and they go, dude, I can't believe the content and the ideas that you're putting out there. Why would somebody hire you if you're giving it away? And that's probably the biggest paradigm shift, is that when someone sees you putting it out consistently, they go, that's our guy. Now do it for me.
Right.
And so it's real validation.
Everybody knows they could go back and watch my 8 webinars and figure out how to do their own marketing, but they know they're not going to do it.
That's exactly right. So if you want to be an attorney, but here's what the law firm is doing and here's what you need to do. And so it's a cool world right now. When I say, tell me something good, I think there's a lot of good. There are people are hurting, and I know that, and you know that. And there are marketing companies that were not positioned to pivot, that are just sort of, but I look at every event in life, when the mortgage business crashed, all the weak mortgage brokers got washed out, because like I saw friends of mine, their wives were making $500,000 in the mortgage business. I'm going, what? How did that happen? And sure enough, it doesn't happen. It went away. So, I think guys like you and me will always have a seat at the table because people are interested in your opinion and being genuine. You're not faking who you are. And that's a big problem in social. People, create the persona of who they want to be. And then you meet them and they go, what? That's not who I met,
Part of it, though, is, there's this broad thing like social media guy or whatever. You and I are business strategists first. I sit down with my guys and say, what's your business plan? What's your budget? What's your strategy? What's your objectives? How do you measure your numbers? Like you talked about that earlier. Like the first thing I sit down with a lawyer or professional services firm, you spend $10,000. How many leads do you get? How many turn into clients? What's the value of those clients? And most guys give you that deep throat look.
Right. I agree. Yeah. I mean, I'm, in the last minute or so here, this has been fascinating, by the way. We've done 60 plus shows. This one is so full of nuggets that, people are going to have to get all over it. I expected that. It's proof that the webinar is going to be chock full of good stuff. You've asked me to speak for 15 minutes, which you can tell is not going to be an easy chore for me.
You have to put a big red sign.
Yeah, go.
3 minutes left. 2 minutes left.
But in our last minute, leave us with one more thing about Jay Berkowitz, not about your business, about Jay Berkowitz. Tell me something good about Jay Berkowitz.
Well, I think I just sort of sum up what we said, that I share a lot of valuable content for free. And you can go to our website, 10goldenrules.com. You can get the 10 Golden Rules as a little ebook download for free. And click on blog. I highly recommend. That's where some of the best content is, because we've been doing these webinars now for almost a year. And there's fantastic webinars around SEO, pay-per-click marketing, intake marketing, very important. What do your folks say on the phone when you get them? We've got one of the world's leading experts on that webinar. Last month, we did a webinar about technology. The little chat box that pops up can increase your leads 30%. Call tracking, so that covered technology marketing. So, take advantage of my free content. And if you want me to do it for you, if you don't want to do it all on the free model, give me a call.
Awesome.
Golden Rules.
I love it. Thanks for sharing so much good, with the universe, man. You're a good dude. I'm glad that we're friends, and I'm looking forward to the 25th. We'll knock it out of the park for sure.
And we'll see you tomorrow on the huddle.
Peace. Yes, sir.
Thanks, buddy.
Always. Take care. Bye-bye.